Hey everyone, welcome to Nerds Talk. I'm Mike,
And I'm Chris.
and today we are going to recap and do a quick review and discussion of the Nintendo Indie World Showcase that happened. That's right. Nintendo dropped this news yesterday at the time of recording and said we're going to be doing a little Nintendo Direct that showcases all our indie titles, and we wanted to get everyone excited for that. So we tuned in, we watched the indies. It wasn't more than maybe 15-20 minutes, it wasn't very
Yeah,
long, but they
yeah,
had a lot of games showcased and surprisingly a lot of shadow drops, which I thought was amazing
yes,
of them to do.
yeah, yeah. I really appreciate that kind of thing, right? Because sometimes when you see the trailer, like, oh, I really want to play that, and they're like, oh, well, now you can instead of waiting for it to drop.
Exactly. So I think before we jump into the list here and discuss them, again, just some quick housekeeping for those of you who are new to Nerds Talk. Here, we like to develop a community that's family friendly for people of all ages. We like to discuss nerdy news. We like to discuss games, videos, comics, you name it, and pretty much anything that we're interested in. But we'd like to hear from you. If you'd like to support us, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and share with your friends. Also, you can drop a comment on the videos below on questions that we ask and or other topics or ideas you'd like us to cover in the future. And with that, we'll jump right in. So, Chris, Nintendo Indie World Showcase. So I thought it was very snappy, straight to the point. They deep dived on a couple of the games, but overall, I thought it was, again, a great presentation, a little bit of stuff for everyone. Surprisingly, a lot more than two or three that I was interested in. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, they're. I mean, Nintendo's got this down pat pretty much. They know to make it quick to the point, give enough information, and show enough demo of certain games to get people intrigued and interested. There's a few games that caught my interest for sure. A lot of unique game types and styles. Very new age animation and stuff like that, which is very common with a lot of the independents, which is great. But yeah, I very much enjoyed it. I like the end as well there. That was pretty funny.
Yes, absolutely. So let's just jump right in. So the first game they showcased was Hades. This was shown on a previous, earlier this year, Indie Direct, where Supergiant Games, the people who made games like Bastion and I can't remember the second game now, one with the sword. It escapes me. But basically, they made these awesome games, and they are making Hades a roguelite style game where every time you die, you respawn and you kind of gotta grind and get through to the end. It takes place in Greek mythology. We see Zeus. Obviously, you're fighting Hades, and I guess you're the son of Hades, if I remember correctly, something like that.
I believe so. Yeah, it seems like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the cool news is they talked about having cross saves with PC because it's already out on Steam. So if you've already put some significant time and you want to get it on Switch to have it on the go, your save will port over and you can continue from where you left off. So that is an awesome feature
Definitely.
for the developers. Just good to know that Nintendo isn't stuck on their own platform. They can have cross saves with PC, which means that the potential with Xbox is there with Game
Yeah.
Pass. So that's very exciting to
Yeah.
hear.
They seem to be very open to collaborating with other companies and opening up just to share a little bit more.
Yeah.
They also know that they're a different kind of platform. They're more on the go, kid friendly or travel friendly type. Especially if you're stationary PC, a gaming PC, you can play that at home. And then if you're on the road or hotel or wherever you may be, then you can also take it with you, which is great. This game actually caught my interest a bit. It seems really interesting. I like that when you die, you kind of respawn back and go at it again and learn from your mistakes and do that. But very cool looking game. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. The next one was Hypnospace Outlaw. It's a 90s style PC kind of game where you're
Yeah.
kind of using an old school PC and trying to solve crimes and do some detective
Finding
work.
hackers and all this stuff. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yep. Go
Looked
ahead.
like something I would have played with one of those, floppy disks that you put
Yes.
in when I first got my first PC and playing some games there, like Clue or whatever it may be. So it reminded me of my younger days when I first got a one of those old school PCs. But it looks something interesting. I think they're trying to go a little bit retro and get that kind of, uh, genre to kind of look into this with a little bit of new age animation a little bit in there.
Absolutely. And it comes out August 27th. So next week, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
so yeah, they said that those are one of the games that you don't have to wait long for. Not quite as short as some of these other games, but that's
Yes.
coming soon.
Then they jumped into Spiritfarer, which is a game that we saw last year. I believe it was at E3, where we first saw it, and then we saw a little bit more of it during some sort of indie presentation, either end of last year or early this year. And then, bam, it came out today, and they had an in-depth kind of cartoonish trailer, and we got to see more of these animal characters, and they confirmed that you're there to basically sail them
transport
across.
the spirits over to their resting place, so that they can have their final kind of resting place. Beautiful graphics.
Beautiful graphics. They showed more customization of your boat. They showed
Yes.
the actual getting off the boat and platforming and discovering stuff. So there's some puzzles and
go
stuff
with the
there.
wind. You can just explore islands or wherever you may be traveling to, seeing different creatures and things like that. Very cool looking game. Unique idea. I think the story will be very entertaining and interesting.
Oh yeah.
Something a little bit different. And the customization is there as well. So it's got a little bit of everything. And like I said, beautiful graphics. So I think this game will really be a big hit.
Absolutely. And the surprising news is that it was out today. So for the first shadow drop, and what a great game to shadow drop. I can only imagine the amount of sales this game is getting. I don't remember if we reached out to Thunder Lotus on this one to see if we could get a review code, but we might have to do that because it definitely looks pretty good.
Definitely. Yeah.
Then they jumped into Garden Story. This is made by Pictogram and Rose City Games, where you play as a grape, and you're kind of doing this farming, city building kind of sim style game to kind of, I guess, populate and grow the economy and all this kind of stuff.
To get rid of any rotting and stuff like that in the world, right? Like kind of growing, expanding, that kind of thing.
That's right, and that was supposed to come out in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Then they jumped into a game that has been out for a while on Xbox and PlayStation and PC called Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero, which is, I guess,
the sequel.
They announced it is coming to Switch. It will be both of them will be coming to Switch in 2021. So again, another cool 3D below sea exploration game with some, I guess, looks like some sort of mechanics or some guys attacking some enemies and stuff like that. So looks pretty cool.
Definitely.
Then another beautiful looking game called Takeshi and Hiroshi, which was another surprise launches today drop. This one looked pretty interesting in the way that the style was kind of like this clay animation, kind of interesting stop motion, type of animation game. But then when you jump into the game, it's about the I can't remember if it was an older brother is developing a game and he's getting his younger brother's input on it.
He's kind of making it not too hard, and you gotta make it so that it's playable but keeps them entertained, and the sibling love and stuff like that. Definitely pretty interesting.
I like the dual art style. So the game itself is retro, 8-bit or 16-bit, and then, or actually it's 8-bit, and then you had the animated kind of cool stop motion effect for the actual main part of the story of the game, and I thought that was really cool. Mixture of the two art forms, so I thought that was really well done. And again, launches today. We'll have to see how well that does.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we got some a new game by a new company. I haven't heard of any of the games this company's made. Notting Head Games made a game called Raji, an ancient epic. Looks like a studio. It's headed off in India, and it's based on some Indian cultures, Hindu and some other one. I can't remember what she talked about. Different histories and stories and things like that.
Based in Egypt, I think, and then the Hindu background and the stories that they grew up learning and being told and stuff like that. I believe they said this is their first game that they've developed. I believe it's their first franchise one.
And it says it's nice to see today on the Switch as a timed exclusive, which means it will be coming to other platforms down the road. But I guess they want to get their first foray on the Switch, being as how it's been so successful for independent developers. So good on them. Looks like an action adventure style kind of game.
Definitely, it looked pretty interesting. You need a little bit of magic. She had a sword, a shield. Some different mechanics where she could jump up and kind of slam the creatures down, and maybe some magical abilities and stuff like that. So, interesting looking game for sure.
Absolutely. And then they jumped into Bear and Breakfast, where you basically are creating a bed and breakfast style game where you're playing the role of a bear. And you're going to the forest, dealing with other animals, and I guess getting side quests to get the stuff you need to make your successful hotel run well, which is actually for humans, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
There were humans.
A B&B run by a bear for humans. but you might find some darker creatures the deeper you go into the woods, I guess they're trying to
That's
say. So
right.
there might be a dual story where you're not only creating, but you're also doing missions to get material and finding other people that you might be, maybe battling or trying to, change the storyline or whatever it may be.
That's right. And that was a timed exclusive for 2021 on the Switch. So it launched first on the Switch. Then they showed this other cool game. It had a retro graphics look. It was called The Short Hike, where you play as a hawk. It wasn't quite 8-bit. It had like a 3D look to it, but it still had this pixely look to it. So maybe an early PS1 game graphics. It's hard for me to pinpoint it. It definitely reminded me of like a Super NES game in a way, but it definitely was more, Super NES
More
game
than
was
the
more
32-bit,
3D.
yeah.
So it
It's like
was,
64-bit or whatever, yeah.
but it had that retro film on it, and that again was a launch today, time exclusive. Will launch on the Switch today, and will launch on other platforms down the road. Um, it seemed like a small game the way they described it. A short hike will as an adventure, as telling a story. It looked like a platformer style game.
Yeah.
Looked interesting. Definitely want to check out what people have to say about it. If it's like a $5 game, I might pick it up because sometimes I'm in the mood for that kind of platforming kind of experience. If
Yep.
it's 2-3 hour game, kind of like Untitled Goose Game, something that's quick and easy. It's something that I can sometimes feel like I want to jump into now and then. So good on them. Then we jumped into this game called Card Shark, which was made by a company called Nereal, and it was developed by Devolver Digital, which is a big developing company, due to come out 2021. And it had an interesting style of not your average card game, but it's about cheating and about
That's
being a
right.
card shark and not getting caught. And it gave me like Star Wars a solo story. There's a solo
Yeah.
Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Sorry, solo Star Wars story vibes with like the cheating and then the sleeves and like doing different card tricks and then guys pulling out guns and like you trying to survive and cheat your way to the top. And I thought that was a cool dynamic of doing a card game and I guess it seemed like there's some sort of story, some sort of mystery surrounding the time that the era this takes place.
Yeah, it looks like a riverboat kind of
Yeah,
gambling thing back in the day, the maidens and stuff like that. Like the movie Maverick with Mel Gibson, kind of that
yes,
kind of time frame
exactly.
reminds me of, the wheeling and dealing, trying to win poker games and cheating when you can and trying not get caught and stuff.
Yeah,
Being thrown off the boat or whatever. This time they get shot. Yeah.
that's it. All right, so that's coming out 2021. Torchlight 3 coming out fall 2020. This year it's already out on PC and I don't know if it's on Xbox. I know Torchlight 2 is on Xbox. I believe 3 launched on Xbox and PlayStation already, but I could be wrong. But yeah, if you you get it, you pre-order it for when it comes out, you get an exclusive Red Fairy pet on the Switch. That
I
comes
think
out,
that takes place a decade or two after the second game,
I
right?
believe so.
Is that
Yeah,
what yeah, something like that. So it's good that the story continued on a little bit. So I'm sure they'll tell about what happened in the past, but continue on to the future kind of thing,
yeah.
which is
It's an
always
action
nice.
RPG, so very Diablo-esque. You're running around killing guys using abilities, spells, magic powers, whatever. And you're collecting loot, and as you get loot, you're leveling up, you're gearing up, you get new abilities, and kind of it's that same loop over and over again.
Yeah.
Um, they were kind of like the first ones that did it very well, Diablo, and then they kind of expanded that out, that loot system into, Destiny and all that other stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
that same style
Looter
of game.
shooters.
And then we got this game called Manifold Garden, which is another exclusive dropping later today. Very artistic, very psychedelic, with like those kind of puzzles that you see, the infinite loops, the infinite stairs, those kind of crazy brain teasers or brain busters of like how could this physically work? It can't. But it's all about perception. It's all about perspective and how you solve the puzzles and get through the game. So very good on them. Very artistic. It looked very pretty from the art standpoint. And I do enjoy puzzle games, but this might be a little over my enjoyment and my tolerance level. So I don't know if I'll jump into this one, but I definitely want to keep my eyes to kind of see what other people say about it.
Yeah, it looked pretty fast paced, which is interesting. I mean, it's not for everyone, but it's yeah, something to keep an eye out for sure. I'm not sure if it's up my alley, but yeah,
Yeah,
other people will like it, I'm sure.
absolutely. Okay, and then they jumped into a game called Evergate, which was also going to be released today by Stone Lantern Games. This was a game that's published by P-Cube. And I think I had this on my list to potentially speak to them about where you're using these crystals that are thrown out thrown out throughout the levels, and you use them to solve puzzles and kind of get through. And some of them cause attacks, some of them cause different abilities, and you have to fight bosses and stuff like that. There's an interesting puzzle platformer that caught my interest. I don't know if it would be too puzzly and too frustratingly for me to play, but the fact that it launched today, and again the way that they showcased it and showed a little taste of the different levels and kind of what you'd be doing, got me interested again. I'll have to see if this is one I'm going to have to reach out for to PCube about or not. But yeah, good on them.
Excellent. Yeah, very good, very good. And I love the shadow drops. It's a lot of developers are just coming out strong and saying, we have this content, let's drop it now, especially for this event, and make it very exciting, which is nice.
Especially during this time where people are at home, people are spending more money on video games and stuff like that. Everyone's tuned into these presentations, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to get my hands on that. It's like, well, you can get it on now. This is what you can get right now. Ready. People are ready to spend their money and try new gaming now, instead of waiting 3 months down the road where they potentially may forget it amongst 3 or 4 other games that may be coming out. So good on them for doing that. They definitely got the views and the eyes on their game, so to release it the way they did is definitely going to generate some early sales, I think.
Yeah.
And then they had a B-roll of a bunch of games. So I'm just going to skim through that really quickly. They said here are a bunch of games that people are working on. Some of these were announced previously that we've heard of. Some of them are kind of new announcements. But I'll run through it very quickly. So we had Haven. We had Going Under, The Red Lantern, Unrailed, Struggling, Inmost, She Dreams Elsewhere, Grindstone, and Goner 2. The one that I picked out right away was The Red Lantern. This was a game that they showcased last year. With the whole what was it called? I think it was called the Ariandic, the huge winter sled race, the dog sled race that happens from the Yukon and all that stuff. And so it's based on that. And then we had that in the first trailer. The bear came out and attacked and killed one of the dogs and stuff like that. And so in this trailer, you got to see him go into a cabin. There was a bear sleeping there, and got to see the more interaction with the dogs. And it definitely looks like there's more than just racing, but some exploration, some puzzle solving, perhaps. And a potentially decent story. I don't know if it is going to be a very in-depth story, but it definitely has me intrigued. I want to kind of see where they are at with this from a development standpoint. Definitely want to give this one a go, I think. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it seems like maybe during the game you have to kind of find certain dogs that you want to join your team, possibly, because there's some interactions where, your eyes are really blue or whatever it was, and that's getting out close, seeing what kind of dog. Maybe there's different specializations for the dog. One's a team lead, whatever it may be. So I think that might be a possibility for a storyline where you're going through and then getting the best team that you can, and then also exploring different areas as you're going. The cabins. Picking up supplies and materials and stuff like that, and then also other animal encounters.
Yeah, it looked pretty. I like the art style of it as well.
Definitely look very pretty.
And then they ended with a surprise interruption. As they were ending their presentation, they got a few honks from the Goose from Untitled Goose Game, and then they said, "Okay, here's some news." And then we saw not just one but two geese. It looks like a male and a female, and it looks like they announced a free update. Good on them for making it free. A co-op mode where you can play two goose, go through the whole game. Probably some new achievements. It looked like there were some new things that they were doing. So there could be some new achievements in there for you as well. But what a great game to play co-op. People had a blast. I had a blast playing with it. My son was laughing watching me play. And then sometimes you get a little frustrated with the controls. If we were able to play together from the get-go, while I'm trying to do stuff, running around, it would make a lot more fun. Or one person's distracting while the other person's getting the objective done. So this might actually give me a reason to kind of boot it up again and run through it with him, and to see if there's any extra things to do. But good on them. I think that's a great way to kind of keep this title top of mind. It won a bunch of awards at DICE and the Game Developer Award. So I think that they did a great job, and I think it's definitely the patch is coming out September 23rd. So not that far.
So I think it's great. This game is built for that kind of, teaming up, causing mayhem. I love that they're showing a distraction where the other one grabs the keys or whatever it may be. So I think this will be great, especially for, younger and older people to play together, or just to play with your friends and have just, innocent fun playing your game, doing whatever you want, right? There's no shooting, you're just causing small mayhem just for laughs and funny and different things. So it's very good, very entertaining, and I think my son and I, and even you and I think we'll have fun playing it together, which would be nice.
Absolutely. I mean, that was pretty much it as a whole.
Very quick.
Yeah, and I think that we would be remiss if not to think that there would be another big official direct coming. If not this month, definitely in September, which is the traditional direct month. It was used to be E3 in September. So I think that there is definitely some big news due to come. The biggest news is rumored the 35th anniversary of Mario. There's been some news with some other IPs, but I think there definitely is going to be something that they're keeping close to the chest, and that they will have a big blowout. Whether they announce a bunch of this stuff at the Gamescom One Night Live with Jeff Keighley, or if they're going to wait for their own direct in September, we'll have to wait and see. But do you have any thoughts, any predictions? If you think,
I mean, they typically do their own directs, especially for big announcements. So I would assume it will be a direct. September sounds like a good date, especially because we're right around the corner to it. And I think they would be remiss not to make some announcements on their, personal big IP games and stuff like that. They've been missing the boat big time, and I think they've just been holding it close to the chest, maybe a little bit worried about maybe some of the final details or development. I know at the beginning of this indie thing, it said dates are subject to be changed due to everything that's going on. So they can also do that disclaimer before, but at least they need to announce it so that people can get excited, especially with the holidays coming up. Different game consoles, different games being announced. They really need to start announcing it so people can decide what they want to do and who they want to do it with.
There you go. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are our thoughts on the Indie World Showcase as Nintendo let us out. We will have some more news towards the end of this week as the DC Fandom event happens on Saturday. We're expecting a lot of information regarding the new Suicide Squad game that's going to be developed by and large by Rocksteady, and WB Montreal's Batman game, the one that's basically the rumored to be around the Court of Owls. There's supposed to be a big explosion of news surrounding those two games, plus probably some more announcements on Saturday. So we'll be doing another video for you next week covering all that information and a lot of the other rumors and leaks that have kind of been trickling out this week as well. So if you're kind of asking us, well, why didn't you cover this piece of Nintendo information, we're going to be throwing that to you in a separate video.
There's a lot of leaks all over, that's for sure.
A lot of stuff. Yeah. So we'll have a jam-packed video for you next Monday. But since we did have a late video, we did get wind that this direct was happening. So instead of having this video come out on Monday, obviously we waited to record this one to do it for you and have this up for you on Wednesday. With that being said, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, let them know that we are looking to grow, and if they'd like the content they see, click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a penny. Like the video, drop a comment below, and as always, friends, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.